So, good afternoon to all of you students of second semester of BCA, BBA Hospital Management, BBA Biotechnology, and BMLT. Uh, Today, I am going to discuss with you what we have left unfinished in the previous offline classes, that is your environmental issues. And related with this topic, it is a little bit lengthy topic because all the pollutions has to be discussed here, and I'll try to make it short, the important things that you have to learn here, and also the notes I will provide to you in the WhatsApp group. So let's get started now. So about the environmental issues, I have already discussed with you in the offline classes. Now we will actually doing about the air pollution here. I have already discussed about the air pollution, not all of them, but today we will discuss the main things which are actually has not been said by me. Okay, has not been discussed by me. Okay, so the impacts of air pollution. So what are the impacts mean, you can say effects, right? Effects of air pollution. So the first impact that we can see, the first effect that we can see is your greenhouse effect and your global warming. Well, greenhouse effect is what we have to discuss here first. Those who are not aware from this background, because most of the students are not from science background. So greenhouse effect is actually a natural process that warms the earth surface. So actually your greenhouse effect, it is a natural process which occurs, and this is the main process which actually warms the earth. It makes the earth warmer. When the sun's rays reaches to the earth's surface, sorry, when the sun's energy reaches to the earth's atmosphere, some of the energy is reflected back to the space, and the rest of the energy is absorbed by the earth atmosphere, also by the soil, and re-radiated by the greenhouse gases. So the earth is warming with the help of some gases known as greenhouse gases. These gases actually traps the sun's energy when it is coming towards the earth. Not all of them, not all of the energy is absorbed, but most of the energy is radiated out into the space in the form of infrared radiation. In the form of infrared radiation, it is reflected back to the space. Rest of the energy is absorbed, and again they are going to be re-radiated by the greenhouse gases. Now what are the greenhouse gas then? Which are the greenhouse gas? Greenhouse gas are actually, you can say, water vapor. Well, carbon dioxide is extremely greenhouse gas. That's why excessive concentration of carbon dioxide leads to global warming issue. Methane, whose formula is CH4, okay, CH4, this is called methane, okay, and nitrous oxides, ozone is also a type of greenhouse gas. Well, we need a ozone gas to protect the earth from the harmful ultraviolet rays from the sun. But excessive ozone gas, if it occurs on the land surface in the form of ground level ozone, what we called as smog, that is very harmful. It will also again be uh, you can say contributing to the global warming issue. and some artificial chemicals are also there, like chlorofluorocarbons, which are called as greenhouse gas. So greenhouse gas normally are the water vapor, the carbon dioxide, the methane called CH4, nitrous oxides, ozone, and some artificial chemicals like chlorofluorocarbons. Now the energy which is absorbed by the gases in the atmosphere, these absorb energy then warm the atmosphere and surface of the earth. So the energy which is absorbed by the gases in the atmosphere, by the land surface, that is the lithosphere, it warms the earth. This process maintains the Earth's temperature at around 30 degrees Celsius warmer than it would otherwise be, allowing life on the Earth to exist. So due to the presence of these gases, it makes the life to be supported in this Earth's surface. If you compare with the other planets, except the Venus actually, excluding the Venus actually, because Venus has also it has acidic gases. That's why it traps so much of energy from the sunlight. Plus, it is closer to the sun also. That's why it looks like a star, glowing star, right, this planet. But rest of the other planets, their atmosphere is so much thinner that energy cannot be absorbed by them. Actually, it totally escape from the surface of the planets. But earth has such gases in the atmosphere which maintains the earth temperature. Okay, it maintains the earth temperature around 33 degrees Celsius warmer, and that is the main reason that why life supports on earth. Now the problem that we are facing here actually, that due to the human activities we are increasing this concentration of these greenhouse gases. So the concentration of greenhouse gases is going to be increased by human activities, and this is the main reason which allows increase in more temperature absorption. More energy is absorbed by the earth's atmosphere, so more heat is going to be increased in the earth's surface, and that's why it is called as global warming. So what it is saying here, that due to the human activities we are increasing the concentration of the greenhouse gases, due to which it allows increase in the temperature on the earth's atmosphere, and this phenomenon is called as global warming. So this is the diagram that I have mentioned here a little bit. So the numbering has been given, which has been explained in the next page. See the number 1, what it is saying. If you see the number 1, it is actually saying, it is the solar, number 1 is actually the solar radiation which reaches to the earth atmosphere, and some of these radiations are reflected back into space. So you can see in the number 1 that some of the radiation is going to be escape back to the space. Okay, next comes number 2 right here. Some of the energy is going to be absorbed by the atmosphere. Okay, it is saying in the number 2 that the rest of the sun's energy is absorbed by the lithosphere, by the land and water bodies, thereby heating the surface of the earth. Okay, very good. And also some of the energy is absorbed by the greenhouse gases found in the atmosphere. Okay, number 3, let us see the number 3 now. Number 3 is this one. Again the gas is going to be the heat is going to be liberated out, okay, in the form of infrared radiation. So number 3 is saying here that heat radiates from the earth towards the space during night. So at the night the heat is going to be escape out from the earth, but all the heat is not going to be escaped, because before escaping there is the atmosphere and there is greenhouse gases which absorb that energy. So it is saying in number 4 that some of this heat is trapped by the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, thereby it keeps the earth warm enough to sustain life. So due to the presence of these greenhouse gases, it don't allow all the energy to be escaped, the heat to be escaped from the earth. Some of the energies is also absorbed by the greenhouse gases, which maintains the temperature on the earth's surface. Okay, otherwise if you go to the moon, at day it is too hot, at night it is as ice as cold. Extreme temperature is there, so life does not exist there. And number 5 and number 6, it is saying, in number 5 it is saying that human activities like burning of fossil fuels, agriculture, land clearing, industrialization are the main cause that increase in the amount of these greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Okay, so actually some of the human activities like burning of the fossil fuels, agriculture, land clearing. Land clearing means for deforestation, you can say, for agriculture purpose, for urbanization purpose. Okay, then industrialization purpose. These are the main factors that increase in the amount of greenhouse gas in the atmosphere. And number 6, it is saying that this cause trapping of this extra heat, thereby increase the earth's surface temperature, what we call as global warming. Now let us see about the global warming issue. Well, global warming means, what we know, we have already discussed now, that it is the increase in the average temperature of the earth. Okay, global warming is the increase in the average temperature of the earth. Okay, near the surface of the air and also the oceans. The surface of the air which is found near to the soil, to the oceans, increase in temperature leads to global warming. Most of the observed temperature increase, and it is caused by increased concentration of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, methane, ozone, nitrous oxide, chlorofluorocarbon, also known as CFCs. So most of the temperature going to be increased due to the increase in the concentration of the gases, greenhouse gases. And what are the main greenhouse gases? I have already discussed that carbon dioxide, methane, that is CH4, ozone, which is called as O3, nitrous oxide, then chlorofluorocarbons, also called as CFCs, and including water vapor is also an example of greenhouse gas. Carbon dioxide, okay, it is saying that carbon dioxide contributes about 80% for the cause of global warming. The main cause of global warming is the contribution of the carbon dioxide greenhouse gas. It contributes about 80%. And the major source of carbon dioxide is, all the incomplete combustion of the fossil fuels. Okay, that is the power plants where burning of fossil fuel is carried out for the purpose of electricity generation. So mostly most of the carbon dioxide is going to be increased actually from the factories, from the power plants where electricity is going to be generated, where most of them are using fossil fuels to burn them down to produce steam, and from that steam they will run the turbines to generate electricity. Okay, and due to which excessive greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide is going to be actually emitted from these power plants. About 20% of the carbon dioxide emitted in the atmosphere comes from the burning gasoline in the engines of vehicles. So actually vehicles, they also contribute to the carbon dioxide pollution, but vehicles actually contribute to carbon monoxide, which is called as CO, which is very dangerous gas. Okay, I have already discussed with you in the classes that carbon monoxide has more affinity, hemoglobin has more affinity to bind with carbon monoxide than oxygen. That's why those people who are exposed to the traffic, or those people who are exposed too much to the vehicle smoke, they are they will have reduced oxygen level capacity in their body, and they suffer from blood related problems, oxygen depletion of oxygen related problems, right? So, and also other gases are also emitted from vehicles, I have said, like lead, okay, like some heavy metals are also going to be emitted. But in case of carbon dioxide, as we are talking about global warming, 20% of the carbon dioxide is emitted from the vehicles. Well, carbon dioxide is also emitted from the plants also during photosynthesis, during your respiration process. Well, but if you see in that point of view, that level of carbon dioxide is again equal, it is maintained in a equal balance when they are doing photosynthesis. During the night, plant goes through respiration process, and during the day they go for photosynthesis, where the carbon dioxide that they have emitted at the night, that carbon dioxide is going to be utilized for making their food, okay, to get energy. So I have not said about the plants. Actually, plants are equally releasing the carbon dioxide as well as they are utilizing the carbon dioxide to make their food at the daytime. Methane. Methane is more methane is more than 20 times as effectual as carbon dioxide at entrapping heat in the atmosphere. So if you compare carbon dioxide with methane gas is more potent, okay, it is more, you can say, a dangerous greenhouse gas. It can trap it can trap heat much more compared to the carbon monoxide. Methane is obtained from resources like rice paddies, bovine flatulence, bacteria in bogs, and fossil fuel manufacture. So normally methane is obtained from natural source, also from the man-made source, like in rice paddies where we are cultivating the rice. There also methane is going to be liberated out. Bovine flatulence. Well, bovine flatulence means it will look like funny. The uh, flatulence means, gas. When they release the gas, cows, most of the gas of the cow is actually made up of methane, actually, because they most of the time they are eating the cellulose materials, okay, starch materials. So due to their digestive system, their metabolism, they release, as a byproduct, they release methane gas. Bacteria in bogs, where in waste also we can find methane gas. And fossil fuel manufacture. Then contribution of nitrous oxide is also a greenhouse gas, which is known as N2O, that is two parts of nitrogen and one part of oxygen in the form of greenhouse gas. Nitrous oxide comes from industries manufacturing nylon and nitric acid. So those industries which manufacture nylon, those industries which manufacture nitric acid, which is a very toxic, very dangerous acid, there nitrous oxide gas is going to be released as a byproduct. Cars with catalytic converters, so some of the cars also they release nitrous oxide. Fertilizer industries also release nitrous oxide. And burning of organic matter, any organic matter, if you burn a dead body, a cat's scales, okay, um, you can release nitrous oxide, and nitrous oxide is also a greenhouse gas. So we have said about the greenhouse gas, but what are the effects of the greenhouse gas? The effects of the greenhouse gas is increase in the average temperature of the earth. The earth's surface temperature is going to be increased day by day. Presently, temperature rises from 0.3 degree to 0.6 degree during the last century, and it's proceeding to over 3.5 degrees Celsius. Over the last century, that means over last 100 years, the temperature has been increased from 0.3 degrees Celsius to 0.6 degrees Celsius, but its rate is going to be increased. The speed of the rising of temperature is going to be increased, is going to be doubled, if you see in the graph. And it is saying that 3.5 5 degrees Celsius will be the globally increased temperature everywhere in the earth, averagely. Okay, now globally it is a big issue, and due to increase in the earth's temperature, what will happen? There will be alterations in the ecology, there will be alteration in the ecosystem, including rising in the sea level. The sea level will rise and modifying the quality and pattern of rainfall. So due to the increase in the temperature of the surface of the earth, our weather pattern, better to say not weather, better to say climate, our climate pattern will going to be changed. Okay, as we can see here, we are expecting a delay monsoon, we are expecting a monsoon, we are expecting a dry winter, but here the winter is going to be wet. Over the last few years we can see here in Durgapur in India. Okay, some seasons, some places have alternate rainfall seasons. Getting not permanent, they are not getting that routine rainfall. Okay, so there will be modifying in the weather patterns, in the climatic patterns, and also the pattern of rainfall. Well, they are also observing many things, many modifications is going to be occurring in the climatic pattern just for change in the rise in temperature. Boost the occurrence and concentration of several climatic events like flood, famines, heat waves, tornadoes, and twisters, even cyclones also. So due to the increase in temperature of the earth's surface, it boost means speed up the rate of formation of severe climatic condition. So some of the severity of the climatic condition that occurs, like tornadoes, hurricanes, cyclones, flood, famine, heat waves, okay, twisters, okay, they usually will be occurring regularly at regular intervals. Actually, this type of severe climatic events does not occur periodically, it occurs rarely. But now if you see from the past century, compared to this time, um, many, actually, what can I say, most of the cyclones is going to be occurring in this period of time. Okay, and uncommon cyclones which are not to be actually occurring at that time actually. Then due to this, loss of biodiversity will occur, because if there is extreme climatic condition, then the animal cannot able to cope, cannot able to adjust with the climatic conditions, and there will be loss of biodiversity and rise in the range of disease vector. So disease will come into play. Most of the germs which are causing harm to the living world, they will come into play, and severity of the disease will come. Best example you can see coronavirus. Well, somebody say it's a man-made invention that is causing an epidemic. Okay, it's a ethical topic you can say, but it's also a point that due to change in the temperature of the due to change in the temperature of the earth, it leads to rise in various type of germs. Well, what is disease vector? Disease vector is any agent like microbes or parasite that carries and transmit infectious pathogen into another healthy organism. So vectors are actually carrier molecules here. Those who are biotechnology background, they know, and those who are from the BMLT, they can also know about the vector. Vector is actually those living organism which is carrying the disease, which is carrying the germs, and it is infecting to a healthy individual. It may be a plant, it may be a any organism, any healthy organism. Most of the arthropods, you can say in your language, insects, all the insect family are regarded as vectors, like mosquitoes, flies, lice, fleas, ticks, and mites. So most of the insects can be regarded as vectors, and you can see them. There is an increase in the population of these vectors. You can see lots of mosquitoes, flies, lice, fleas, ticks, and mites. And due to our activity, bad activity, it also increased the population of these mosquitoes, these type of parasites. Why, well, you can see that simply by giving mosquito repellent spray or other things. At previous time, mosquito used to run away, okay, or die. But now they are making resistant to such type of toxic chemicals, and that's why we are using more toxic chemicals now. If you see from the last century, you can able to observe it. So they are going to be resistant to these toxic chemicals, and we are also getting affected. And plus, due to the advantage of rising in temperature, it's a good, you can say it's a good atmosphere, good climatic conditions for them to breed, for them to grow well. Okay, and that's the main cause of effects of global warming. Next is saying increase in the surface temperature will cause increase of transpiration rate. Means the transpiration is actually, what can I say, it is actually the process where the water vapor is going to be emitted out from the plant surface as a result to cool down the temperature of its surroundings, you can say. Okay, so the transpiration rate will increase in the plants if there is increase in the surface temperature. There will be growth of the weeds means those plants which are not required for us, okay, which are just growing here and there, like parthenium, okay, like other plants are also there, like latin americana, okay, I know the scientific name. In It's a type of plant in Bengal, it says modhu gach actually, okay, because the nectar is rich in this type of plant and they grow very well. Weeds are going to be grow well, parthenium, then in Bengal it says jhamti gach, this type of plants are growing. And emergence of pest that will affect the crop population, different types of pests, insects which are causing damage to the crops are called pests, okay, they are going to be increasing their population. And this, that melting of the glaciers has led to rise in the sea level by 15 centimeter during the last 20th century at a rate of 1 to 2 millimeter per year. Thus, one third of the human population residing in coastal areas are facing danger of submersion. So the glaciers are going to be melt. Okay, glaciers are purely made up of ice. They are not like normal ice that we used to see in the refrigerator. They are pure ice, pure, you can say, that means their molecule is so much tight, okay, purely you can say, okay, so much strong they are. So that glaciers are going to be melted down, and they are melting actually during the last 20th century. And due to melting of the glacier ice, it leads to the rise in the water level, obviously, because ice melt into water, and and if there is a rise in the water level, then people who are living in the coastal areas, the beautiful areas of Maldives, Honolulu, different places that the paradise places, okay, where people go for holidays actually, they are these type of places going to be submerged, or you can say flooded with water. Okay, now what are the following measures which has to be taken to avoid the effects of global warming? So what are the how we can able to prevent the global warming? You cannot prevent them in one day or 1 year. It will take some time, okay, to curb the effects of global warming. First is we have to do afforestation at a huge scale throughout the world. Why? Because due to afforestation, due to planting more trees will absorb more carbon dioxide, and more, if they absorb more carbon dioxide, most of the greenhouse gas is carbon dioxide, na? So there will be somehow reduce in the global warming temperature. Replacement of the CFC with ozone friendly substance. We have to minimize the use of CFC gas. Normally CFCs are used as refrigerants in the refrigerator, in the ACs. So we have to minimize the use of chlorofluorocarbon, or you can say CFCs, with ozone friendly substance, reduce the use of artificial fertilizers, and depending on natural manure and organic farming. So the artificial fertilizers that we farmers are using nowadays to increase the harvest, increase the population of crops. So we should not depend on these artificial fertilizer. Instead, we can use organic manure, we can use biofertilizers, that means the fertilizers from biological origin. Like nowadays we are culturing the azolla, okay, we are culturing cyanobacteria. They are good for the soils, they are good for the rice plant to grow. Even the rhizobium, that you know the name from class 6, you know rhizobium fix the atmospheric nitrogen in the soil. Even in the nitrogen cycle I have talked about that matter. Okay, so by culturing rhizobium in the soil, we can fix the nitrogen in the soil, and thereby we don't require nitrogen fertilizer. But obviously the mode of action to fix nitrogen will require some time, okay, compared to the artificial fertilizer, which too much it increases the rate of nitrogen production. Okay. Next, encouraging the use of alternate source of energy like solar energy, hydel power plant, and wind energy. So we have to depend not only on fossil fuel energy, but it's better to use alternate source of energy like solar energy, hydel power plant, wind energy, etc. Next, some laws has been made actually based on how to minimize the use of greenhouse gas, and that's why protocol known as Kyoto Protocol in 1997 they come into force. It's a, you can say, global protocol, and they are aiming at stabilizing the greenhouse gas concentration to prevent the dangerous anthropogenic, that means human interference. So the Kyoto Protocol in 1997 have come into play uh, by the United Nations actually, and they have actually they are wanting actually to minimize the use of greenhouse gas. For that, they make certain laws to our respected countries. Kyoto Protocol is an international treaty. Again, I repeat, Kyoto Protocol is an international treaty. Treaty means in Hindi it says samjhota, chukti in Bengali you can say. It is an international treaty which extends the 1992 United Nations Framework Convention on Climatic Change that commits the state parties to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions based on scientific consensus that global warming is occurring, and it is extremely likely that human made the carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, methane, and CFC emissions have predominantly causing it. So it is saying that Kyoto Protocol is actually, it is an international treaty, and this Kyoto Protocol is based on a conference, is based on a meeting that was done by the United Nations Framework Convention on Climatic Change. So United Nations Framework on Conventions on Climatic Change set up by United Nations, and on that conference they actually introduced this Kyoto Protocol, which actually commits the state parties, those who are signatories, those who have signed it, to these members as a member of this conference. They have to commit that they have to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions based on scientific consensus that global warming is occurring, and extremely likely that human made carbon dioxide, nitrogen, methane, and CFC emissions have predominantly causing it. Okay. And now the members have signed these, agreed to this statement, have signed the treaty. Some of the countries have not signed, like United States of America has not signed. They have ratified, you can say, and China also, India also have has not, they have neutralized actually that concept actually, because they are developing countries and they have to emit greenhouse gas, but they have make a limit range. They have make a statement that after of a particular period of time they will try to reduce them. Okay. Next issue is your acid rain. Well, what is acid rain? Well, the rainwater when it is become acidic because of presence of nitric acid, dilute nitric acid or dilute sulfuric acid, as a result of the gases which are going to be released in the atmosphere, and by interaction of these gases with the water particles at the sky, at the atmosphere, it leads to the formation of acid water. And that acid water is little bit corrosive. It's not like that you can see, that you have seen in the film, that when it is dropping in your skin the skin is going to be blistered, not like that. But one day it will occur like this if we don't go on to check out this acid rain. Well, it is saying here that it is saying there here that when, oh, wait, it is saying here that when atmospheric pollutants, there are some atmospheric pollutants like oxides of nitrogen, oxides of sulfur, when they react with the rainwater and they comes down with the rain, it is known as acid rain. So acid rain, so when acid rain, how it occurs, when atmospheric pollutants like oxides of nitrogen, oxides of sulfur react with the rainwater. The oxides of nitrogen, sulfur, where we get from the emission from the chimneys of the factories, from the exhaust pipe of the vehicles. Yes, from there we can get oxides of nitrogen, oxide of sulfur. Oxides of nitrogen like nitrous oxide, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, sulfurous oxide, right? Sulfate. So when oxides of nitrogen and sulfur reacts with the rainwater and they become diluted, they mixed up and come down as rain, is called as acid rain. Now acid rain is made up of highly acidic water droplets. Acid rain is made up of highly acidic water droplets due to air emissions. So due to the emission from the air, it leads to the formation of acid water droplets. So how these acidic water droplets occur? As the smoke from the factories, from the chimneys, from chimneys of the factories, from the exhaust pipes, they not only release carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide, but they also release some poisonous gases also. That gases goes to the atmosphere because of its, they are light, they are lighter, and that gases interact with the water droplets that forms the clouds actually and forms as acid rain. And most specifically by disproportionate levels of sulfur and nitrogen emitted by the vehicles and manufacturing process. So the oxides of sulfur, or on directly the sulfur or nitrogen which are going to be released from the vehicles and manufacturing process in industries, that gases is going to be combined with the oxygen in the air, in the atmosphere, and with the water particles to form acid. The acidic deposition takes place in two ways. Now more deeply I am trying to say here about the acid rain formation, that this acidic deposition takes place in two ways, wet and dry. There are two ways through which acid rain formation can occur. First is wet deposition, which is very easy. Wet deposition is any form of precipitation which removes acid from the atmosphere and places them on the surface of the earth. So wet deposition is any type of precipitation. It may be a hailstorms, it may be a hailstones, it may be sleet, it may be ice, crystals, it may be raindrops. So wet deposition is a type of precipitation which removes the acid from the atmosphere and places them on the surface of the earth. Okay, so normally from the atmosphere, what type of precipitation will be going to be occur, whether it is hailstones or sleets or ice crystals or snowflakes or rain. This precipitation, they interact with the acids, they interact with the gases to form acid and they fall. That is called wet deposition, what we know. In the absence of precipitation, dry deposition of polluting particles and gases sticks to the ground through dust and smoke. Now what happened? You can see that in the early in the morning, a layer of smoke occurs in the ground, and that smoke is a powerful smell. Now that smoke is can be related with the acid deposition by dry process. When precipitation is not there, suppose there are some places where precipitation occur very lowly. That precipitation means rainfall or snowfall occurs very lowly, like Rajasthan, like you can say in the Egypt. Okay, some of the extreme places I'm talking about, like Libya, various places are there actually. So those type of places where precipitation does not occur, what happens from the atmosphere, this dry matter, this acid that forms, they get, as they become heavy because they have combined to form a large substance, their molecular weight become heavy and they going to be settled to the ground. Here it is saying stick to the ground, it's not like that. It settled to the ground due to the increase in their molecular weight, and they settle to the ground in the form of dust, in the form of smoke, because other particles which are going to be emitted from the human activities like fly ash, various things. Now let us see the dry phase and the acidic phase. Well, this is the dry phase, the gas phase. In the dry phase, sulfur dioxide, which is a type of oxides of sulfur, right, SO2, what we know, sulfur dioxide is oxidized by a reaction with the hydroxyl radical. Okay, by the help of hydroxyl radical, um, the sulfur dioxide is going to be oxidized. So sulfur dioxide is going to be oxidized by the help of with the help of hydroxyl radical via an intermolecular reaction, and they form a hydroxy sulfonyl radical. Now those who are not from the science background, we have to say about what is radical actually. Well, radical is an atom or molecule or ion which has unpaired valence electrons. Well, I think you have studied at least in the chemistry in the class 6, 7, 8 standard. So valence electrons, the electron in the outermost shell, okay, whatever present. So radical is such an atom or molecule or ion which has unpaired valence electrons, and these unpaired electrons, according to the rule of octet, a atom at least in the outer shell, the last shell of the, or you can say the last orbit of the atom should have at least 8 electrons, what we call as octet rule. Okay, I think I am able to memorize you, to visualize you in your past, reflect you in the past time when you have studied this one. So at least 8 electrons has to be present in the outermost shell, then only they will become stable. More or less make them unstable, that you know, in the form of ions will come. So with some exceptions, these unpaired electrons, radicals, make them heavy, highly chemically reactive. So now radicals are such atoms, due to unpairing of these electrons, they become very chemical reactive, energetic. They try to become stable. Anyone who will donate the electrons, they will accept it or lose it to become stable actually. Okay, and many radicals spontaneously dimerize. They together they combine in order to become stable. They dimerize, they become paired. An unpaired electron is an electron that occupies an orbital of an atom, say string singly rather than as a part of an electron pair. Each atomic orbital of an atom has capacity to contain two electrons with opposite spins. Now this is a little bit depth subject if we go for chemistry, that if each orbital in an atom has two electrons at least, which has opposite spins. Okay, I'm not going into that depth because of chemistry, this is not chemistry class actually. So here what I want to say is about the radical. It is an unstable atom which has unpaired electron. To become stable they dimerize, they try to pair with other stable particles and make the stable particles to become unstable. Okay, so here what we can see that, here we can see that in the presence of oxygen, that's the sulfur dioxide in the form of pollutant, they react with the hydroxyl radical and form another radical called hydroxy sulfonyl radical. This hydroxy sulfonyl radical is followed by interaction with the oxygen. Okay, interaction with the oxygen which is present in the atmosphere and form sulfur trioxide and water. Not water, sorry, it is HO2, not water. Water will be H2O. So HO2 and sulfur trioxide is going to be formed. Now this sulfur trioxide, if water is not present, they will be going to be settled down to the ground in the form of dust and smoke, with the help of dust and smoke. Otherwise they will interact with the water to form acid. So in the presence of water, sulfur trioxide or SO3, what we get from the previous reaction, is converted to the sulfuric acid. So you can see sulfur trioxide react with the water. H2L means in liquid phase and G means gaseous phase. They react to form acid and also it liberate heat. That means it is a exothermic reaction. It will liberate heat. Similarly in case of nitrogen also, in the case of nitrogen, nitrogen react with the oxygen to form nitrogen dioxide, and that nitrogen dioxide react with the hydroxyl radical to form nitric acid, and this nitric acid is also an acid which interacts with the water. Okay, now what are the effects of acid rain? Let us see. Well, acid rain acid rain changes the composition of the soil, because the soil is made up of various ions, various minerals, chemicals, but when acid interacts with these ions, they're going to be change the composition of the soil by washing away all the nutrients that are required for the growth and survival of the plants. So acid rain actually not only washes but due to the presence of acid it interacts with the various ions which are required for the plant to grow, and that ions are going to be converted to form another ion which is impossible for the plants to absorb them, and thus it goes to change the what we can say, the plants become unable to absorb the nutrients from the soil. Second, it causes various respiratory issues in animals and humans. Well, when acid rain falls, it going to be um, causes various respiratory issues in animals and humans. Well, someone elderly, or you have seen commonly people found to see that if you have itches or if you have acne, or what we can say, prickly, in Bengali we say gham machi, then if you go to the rain, if you shower in the rain, then all those things will be gone. It's why? Because presence of the acidic content in the rainwater. But too much of acidic content is bad for your body. It will interfere with your respiratory system. It will cause various respiratory issues in animals and human. Even it will also affects your digestive system as well, because by the way that rainwater is going to be filled up in the oceans, ponds, seas, rivers, and that water is going to be indirectly drinking by us. It lowers the pH in the soil. Well, pH determines the acidity and alkalinity in the soil. Okay, the pH of the soil, if becomes lower, that means it is highly acidic, as well as on water bodies that will affect the living organisms surviving on that region. Acid rain also cause corrosion of the water pipes, which further leads to leaching of heavy metals such as iron, lead, copper into the drinking water. Now, the large water pipes that you can see that carries the water here, like the municipal corporation of Durgapur is installing the water pipes that we see, that the time water that we can see now, DMC has set up. Okay, that water pipes is made up of normally metals. Nowadays they are using plastics also, but most of them time they use metals. When these metals interact with the acid rain, not in one day or 2 day, but for many months, then what happen, they become slowly, what they become what, they become corrosion, ক্ষয়ে যাওয়া. Okay, and it further results in leaching of those metals which make up that pipes, mix with the water bodies, mix with the water which it carries, and thus it cause problem. Acid rain damage to the properties. Some historic monuments, statues, especially those which are made up of rocks like limestone and marble, that contain large amount of calcium carbonate. So acid rain normally, if I say scientifically, they can react with the calcium carbonate and or calcium like compounds, and it cause damage to the buildings which are made up of calcium substance like limestone, marble. That's why Taj Mahal is being affected by the acid rain. Okay, and that's an indication that we are polluting the air because of that result in acid rain formation. Acid rain normally react with the calcium compounds in the stones to create gypsum, and it peels off. It's just like peels off, just like an orange. We can peel off the orange skin, just like that. If the stones, the rocks which contain lots of calcium, it will interact with the rainwater, acid rainwater, and it will flakes off. Okay, and it will going to be corrode. This is the reaction. Calcium carbonate interact with the H2SO4 to form calcium sulfate. Calcium sulfate is not so much strong, it is very soft. You can, by one punch you can make them to break into pieces, and carbon dioxide gas with water. So this was about the two things that I have said. In the next class I will try to discuss about the ozone depletion, okay, and the other things, uh, and control of air pollution. And at the same time I will also discuss about the act which are actually law made by the government to reduce the effects of air pollution actually. So this was about today's lecture. I hope you have understood this part. uh, if any questions occur, you can ask me in the WhatsApp group. In the separate group individually you can also ask. Okay, just listen to this, study this, and I will be providing you the notes also today. Okay,